202 videos, and 3 years later, I come to a pretty quick conclusion. I don't get a lot of love from the religious, but that's okay. That was never my intention anyway. My intention is to spread a single message, and that's the kingdom of heaven is inside you. It's inside everybody. Everybody. That's the message Jesus was trying to say. And that tends to piss a lot of people off. And I'm going to keep spreading that message. And I'm going to spread that to everybody, regardless who you are. I'm not going to convert anybody. I'm just going to spread that message. And, yeah. So, stay in peace.
Anyway, so, it's no secret that I'm really good at pissing people off. Apparently, well, to be honest, I knew I'd piss people off, but I didn't realize that it would be that simple and easy, that triggering people by just simply saying that the kingdom of heaven is inside you would be such a trigger to Christians. Because I knew that Jesus had said that, but I didn't know so many Christians had no idea that Jesus said that.
Well, it's not taught.
Yeah, I mean,
I honestly didn't know until you told me.
Yeah, I mean,
but then again, when I was raised in the church,
yeah,
or in a church.
Yeah.
So,
can
you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
There we go.
Yep. Yeah, no, again, you were saying it's not taught in
Yeah,
church.
It's not taught church. I mean, I did go to church as, when I was a kid. I didn't go all the time, but I don't remember anybody ever teaching about it.
No, it's not taught. The thing about it is a lot of people don't understand, because when Paul came around, Paul was not around. He was not a follower of Jesus during the life of Jesus. That's why they call it Pauline Christianity. Paul became a follower of Jesus after Jesus died, and he claims, and I'm not denying anything, I don't get into theology because it's a slippery slope of arguments that I think is it's stupid to argue about.
Yeah.
Because there is no way to be right or wrong about any of it. It's pointless to argue. It's like arguing about flat Earth. But because we can't prove it either way. But he claims that he met Jesus on the road to Damascus, and he spent 2 weeks with Jesus after Jesus' death. And he was divinely inspired by Jesus, and that's how he learned about what Jesus had taught. Although, even though he'd written 2/3 of the New Testament, supposedly, that's what I'd been taught, was that he wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. Though a lot of scholars have argued that he'd actually. He doesn't quote a lot of things that Jesus spoke about during Jesus's lifetime.
No.
Of what he taught. He doesn't. And so a lot of people don't know what Jesus actually taught. I've had people tell me Jesus never said that we can do greater things than he.
And, I mean, it's right there. It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. People have told me that Jesus never said that the number one commandment is to love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your might, and just love your neighbor as yourself. I'm like, that's the number one commandment.
Yes.
And people don't know that. It's because that's Pauline Christianity is not something, or it's something that people follow more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so people rush to follow Paul, And that's fine. That's great if that's what you want to do. But I'm a follower of Jesus. You know, in fact, the more and more I study, the less and less I call myself a Christian, because, you know, all my life that I've been around Christians, I was never a big fan of them. And I've stated this many times, is because, you know, I'd get invited to churches, and I grew up in hell, and all they ever cared about was converting me and asking me if I wanted to go to heaven or hell. They'd never asked me about my home life. Nobody ever cared. And that was my introduction to Christianity. But they'd always say Christianity is not a religion. Christianity is a relationship between you and Jesus. Well, I call utter bullshit. Christianity is a religion. It's a religion that was created by Paul.
Yeah.
Following Jesus is not a religion. It's a relationship. I can buy that, because there are no rules to following Jesus.
Yeah.
There's not people telling me that you have to do this or that or whatnot.
You can't say this. You can't say that.
You know, you don't get a bunch of people jumping on your podcast, because your video, because you happen to say the kingdom of heaven is inside you, and telling you that you're damned to hell, and cussing you out, figuratively speaking, cussing you out and violating the very Bible they're talking about and Christianity by telling you this, because you're not being a Christian like they think you are.
Yeah, you need Jesus.
You need Jesus.
Even though have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Even though the Bible, Paul quite literally tells you that if, first of all, Jesus tells you not to judge people like that. He says that very specifically, several times, with several different parables about the plank in your eye, about, you know, about the adulterous woman. It was several different times. But Paul tells you that if you must judge your brother, by the way, and I hate it when people call me their brother. You don't even know me. But if you're going to call me your brother, then judge me as a brother. Don't judge me publicly, because it says in the Bible, if you're going to judge me, do not judge me publicly, judge me privately. And then if I still do not come around, get a brother with you and then talk to me. If I still don't come around, take me to a pastor, sorry, I'm from the country. Take me to a pastor and then talk to me amongst the pastor. And if I still don't come around, wipe your feet off, treat me like a Philistine, and just walk away. That's how you deal with me. But no, you want to sit there and act like you aren't even a Christian yourself and judge me in front of everybody and be a hypocrite, a little whiny little bitch on YouTube, and sit there and say, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you're going to hell. I mean, you know how many times I've heard people saying that I'm going to hell or somebody else is going to hell on one of my videos because somebody doesn't believe in hell, so that person's going to hell, which the Bible does not say. Nobody says that in the Bible, that if you don't believe in hell, you're going to hell. But people have said that. You know, people come up with some of the strangest things. Nobody knows where they get these things. You know, and it's like, why? Why does any of that matter?
Yeah.
But regardless, even if that's true, treat me like a brother and come to me privately and talk to me about it. But they didn't.
Well, they can't boost their ego if they come to you privately.
No.
And I'm not saying that's what everybody's doing, but that's what it seems like the majority is trying to do, is boost their own ego by confronting you in a public forum. And saying, look, I'm a better Christian than he is because I'm telling him he's wrong.
They're like, you need to learn how to take correction. And they're like, oh, and finally, I think 2 people actually asked the question. Most people did not. Most people just said, "You're wrong. You just won't handle correction."
Yeah.
Only 2 people actually said, "Well, show me evidence." Okay. Luke 17, 20, 21. Jesus is talking to the Pharisees and said, "The kingdom of heaven is not going to come out of the sky like you think it will. You know, it will come slowly and solemnly. And in fact, it's already within you.
Yeah.
Within some of you." And then even further in Matthew, as the parable, Matthew 13:33, with the leavened bread, and talks about how it's so silently that it's like leavened bread, how it's just a little bit of leaven in like 50 pounds of bread. It's very obvious about it. So yes, he very specifically talked about it, and how he said the kingdom of heaven is already started among people. But no, I'm wrong because you said I'm wrong. But it doesn't matter. There are over 34,000 different denominations of Christianity. But I'm wrong because you said I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think a single one of them is 100% right.
And regardless, how many of them speak Aramaic?
Just a few.
How many of them know the idioms of Aramaic?
Nowhere near as many that should.
I've asked people about the Aramaic explanations of certain things, and to explain how that is the Aramaic explanation of something. They're like, well, what are you talking about? Well, you've got to understand, in Aramaic, this means something completely different.
Yeah, and your perfect example is, going to the back 40.
Yeah. Well, when I tell somebody, I was talking to somebody in Jersey. I said, if I say I had to walk clear back to the back 40 to get this, what does it mean? I don't know. I said, okay, well, I'll give you a translation. 40 means 40 acres. Do you know what it means now? Well, yeah, you had to walk clear back to the back 40 acres. I was like, no, not at all. 40 acres has nothing to do with it. No. You need to know the idioms of the times, of the period, the area. Well, Greek did not know the idioms of the Aramaic.
No, because why would they?
The English did not know. Just because they could translate the words did not know the idioms.
Well, think about like Spanish language.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I say Spanish.
The
language.
Spaniards do not know the idioms of the Mexicans.
Well, like translating American English and Mexican Spanish, if you translated it word for word, it's going to come out sounding completely wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's going to sound right. I mean, there's plenty of idioms in, Spanish that don't translate into English the correct way. You have to know, what's the word? Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. The culture that it's coming from. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, but I can't think of the actual word. It's
the context
and stuff like that. Because otherwise you're going to have, mistranslations.
Yeah. And it's important. And I'm not saying people are wrong or right. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to get at is that there's so many possibilities that nobody has the right to go up to anybody and say, you're wrong. Nobody has that right. No. In fact, you should just respect, well, this is what this person believes. And in fact, if you call yourself a Jesus follower, Jesus knew, and many people have said, Jesus knew a man by his heart.
Yeah.
That's why he would be friendly and loving to a Philistine, even though the Philistine did not follow the God of Abraham. Mm-hmm. That's what they would notice, is that Jesus would get on to remember James and John and James, the men of thunder that they joke about because they'd always lose their temper.
Yeah.
He got onto them because they were saying you're cohorting with the Philistines and stuff. He's like, we love everybody.
Yeah.
You treat everybody. And Jesus was known for healing people that weren't followers. He didn't care because he followed people by their heart.
Yeah.
So knowing that I'm sitting there saying the kingdom of heaven is inside you, ask me, what am I talking about? I could have simply been talking about God.
And God is in everyone.
God is in everybody. We were made in the image of God. We were literally, I've used this analogy before. You get sand, clay, water. You mix them together. You bake them. You turn them on a table, you bake them together. You try to take that sand out of that clay.
Yeah.
You can't. Well, that's God. He's part of you. You cannot take it out. Well, that's God. You cannot take God out of you.
Exactly.
Well, when you're telling somebody that they have no hope in life, that they feel like they're completely hopeless, that they don't have any power, that they're powerless, you're like, no, you have power. God is inside you. You have got to see the God in you.
Yeah.
You've got to recognize the God within you. The kingdom of heaven within you.
Yeah.
When people start seeing that, it's amazing the power that lights up in their eyes.
Oh yeah.
The freedom, the unstoppableness. I've seen that. This girl that she felt helpless, and I gave her a shirt that with the lesbian that I gave her the unstoppable shirt, and I had that conversation with her, and 6 months later she's going to church. She's and she felt helpless, and I told her that she was unstoppable. I told her that the kingdom of heaven was inside her, but she started going to church. She became a manager of the store. She thought she was helpless.
Yeah.
But when you tell somebody that the kingdom of heaven is inside you, they light up. And that's what I was doing. And instead of saying, hey, this guy is trying to help people, they're sitting there saying, oh, well, you're telling people a lie.
Yeah, you're you don't know Jesus Christ. You need to get to know him.
Yeah. I'm like,
in your heart.
Really? I was like, what kind of a person are you? I was like, you don't know Jesus. Because if you knew Jesus, you would know that Jesus cared more about a person's heart and flesh, that he would want people to be healed.
Yeah.
That he healed their flesh because he knew he knew that their soul would follow, because he wanted people to be loved.
Yeah.
He didn't say, oh, well, don't worry about them because they're worthless. He didn't call people worthless. He tried to get everybody to find love.
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't, did he not try to get Nicodemus?
Yeah, a Pharisee.
A Pharisee?
Yeah.
I mean, he still treated Nicodemus with love. And Nicodemus was a Pharisee at the time.
Yep.
He still showed people. Did he not heal the guard that was taking him to his death? That Peter sliced the ear off. Did he not heal the guard's ear?
He did.
He didn't have to.
No, because, I mean, if you follow what everybody, what people think nowadays, that would,
The guard deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Fair bouts, fair play.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And people, they don't think about the love part anymore.
No, nobody wants to care.
They care about sinning. They're back to the, 400,000 rules that the Pharisees came up with, instead of following the one Jesus said to do, which is love.
Yeah. It's simple, and this is, people, and I get judged by this, and I don't care. That's what confuses people. I don't care what type of Christian you say I am. I don't. You can say that I'm burning in hell. If I have to burn in hell to get people to find love, to get people loved, then I'll burn in hell for it.
Yeah.
I'll take that sacrifice. If me burning in hell gets somebody else to be loved, I'll do it. And I'm serious about it.
Yeah. I know.
Because I want people to be loved.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like not to be loved. And it sucks. And a lot of people say, well, I know what it's like not to be loved. Bullshit. I have not met a single person that hasn't been loved by at least one person.
Yeah.
I have spent years where I wasn't loved by at least one person. Where I had nobody. Literally nobody. And it's a horrible place to be. And I will spend the rest of my life empowering people.
Yep.
And I am going to show people that God is within them. We were created by God, with God, to have a God experience, to grow. We are little gods, which was said twice in the Bible, if you want to use the Bible as a reference, because Christians can't seem to, they forget that the Bible, that God existed before the Bible. God did not die after the Bible either. God exists today, because a lot of people think God died once the Bible was created, which means miracles stopped happening.
God was created and died when the Bible was created.
Yeah, he died in 389 AD, or he was created in 389 AD. So you quit talking to him when the Bible was created, and then he died in 1611. But for some reason, King James Bible was the perfect creation, but then in the 1500s, they decided to take the Book of Thomas out.
Yeah.
I thought that was the perfect creation, was in not the 1500s. I mean the 1800s.
Yeah.
I thought the Book of Thomas. I thought the 1611 edition was the perfect edition.
Yeah.
But whatever. Even though Mary Magdalene was the most knew Jesus better than anybody, and she had a church with 20,000 followers in France. Yet she doesn't have a book. Why? Nobody talks about that.
Exactly.
You're not allowed to talk about that. That's a secret. There's a lot of jacked up stuff in Christianity, and you're not allowed to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you talk about it, then it's out in the open, and then they're like, well, now we're going to have to say that there's the jacked up stuff, and so Christianity's jacked up. No, Jesus wasn't jacked up.
No, he wasn't.
Christianity's jacked up. Jesus was not.
No.
They did a lot of jacked up stuff to the story of Jesus. They did a lot of the stuff that really confused people, and that's why you give atheists and a lot of other people a lot of power to question things. A lot of things, well, this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense, and this, because they're starting to put things together that doesn't make sense, because they're like, this is a little too convenient.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is too convenient. Why wouldn't they let women in the stories? Well, because they didn't want women to have power. Duh. I mean, and they still don't. The Catholic Church still doesn't want to have women in power. That's why you don't have women priests.
Yeah.
Well, God doesn't want... No, bullshit.
Yeah.
Like that... I know, I'm going to get people hating on me for saying that. I don't care. The thing is that I'm not trying to be a Christian because of somebody told me this is the way to be a Christian. I didn't become a Christian because of Christians. Because if you're a Christian because of other Christians, you're going to quit being a Christian because of other Christians. I became a follower of Jesus because I read what Jesus said. The 3 years. It was not the 3 days. Jesus did not die on the cross and say, well, follow me and die because I died on the cross. No, he spent 3 years teaching people stuff. What did he teach? Because I know a lot of people that have no idea what he taught. I know because I talk to people about what Jesus taught, and they have no idea. I know a lot of people that have literally never spoke to anybody about what's in the Bible. They go to church, but they don't actually have conversations.
Yeah.
They've never, they just don't know. They just listen to the preacher. And the preacher doesn't actually talk about what Jesus talked about. They talk about what Paul talked about. They talk about what Daniel talked about. They talk about what David talked about.
They give their own interpretation to
Yeah.
that and tell them this is what it means, instead of letting people what it means to that person, because scripture can mean something different to everyone.
Yeah. Isn't God alive?
Yes.
I mean, if this is what I learned, because I did not, for most of my life, I thought bullcrap when it came to the Bible. I thought utter bullcrap, because I learned and studied the Bible, and I studied how the Bible was made, and I studied about the makings of it. I was a police officer, and the chain of custody was not there at all. There was no chain of custody. So I couldn't trust it. But then I thought about something. God uses the broken to heal the broken. Now, everything about the Bible could be completely wrong. However, if you were listening to God when you were reading something,
Yeah.
you're listening to God, not to Billy Bob, not to Susie Q, not to your favorite pastor, but you're listening to God and not to your ego. You're sitting in the quiet and you're just listening to God. He can use that lesson to guide you into what you need to know.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. And I firmly believe that. God still works just as powerfully today as he did 2,000 years ago.
Yes, he does.
But unfortunately, we are not taught that. We are taught that God is dead. They don't say that. They don't want you to believe that. They say that, oh, God's not dead. God is still alive today. But the only way he's alive is if you listen to these prayers, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. You are the powerful one. You are the anointed one. The power is in you. How many times do you hear people pray and the prayer to last for like 10 minutes? When you go to, we go to conferences all the time, and I'm not talking bad about them at all. I mean, I know they mean well. And you kind of can't help it. It's out of their upbringing. I'm going to blame it on that because that's what they've seen. That's what people expect. But everybody I see that prays does these long, boisterous prayers. But Jesus himself told you it is best to go and pray in a closet and not to do a long prayer like a pagan, but to make it short and precise. Just to say what you mean. I got tricked into a healing Zoom meeting once.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean tricked. It wasn't nefarious tricked.
Yeah.
He probably thought I knew that's what it was. I didn't know what it was, but I was having migraines and he asked me if I could call him and do a Zoom meeting. I was like, yes. So I called him and it ended up being, he was a preacher, a pastor. And so he started praying for me and it didn't get rid of my migraines. I told him it did just because it felt awkward. But then there was an elderly woman on the Zoom meeting, Zoom call. She was like in her 60s, and she was in New Jersey, and she was Greek, and she didn't speak English as a first language, but she was vaccine injured. And I don't usually tell this story, but I was talking to David and Stacy Whitehead from the Flyover Conservatives show, and I was talking with them and Bishop Leon Benjamin, and they asked me, they're like, have you ever told anybody this? I was like, no, I don't think about telling people stuff like this. I just don't tell people about me. And but he said, well, she was vaccine injured, and she couldn't. Her daughter was with her, translating and stuff, and she couldn't hardly walk, and she was shaking, and she was just very, she was very debilitated. And he just looked at me. He said, well, I want you to pray for her. You know me. I mean, especially back then. This was 3 years ago. I didn't pray out loud anyway. So I definitely never prayed for somebody. So I said, okay, but I'm just going to pray the only way I know how. And he was like, great. And so, they were thinking something, I don't know. But I looked at her and I said, ma'am, do you believe you can be healed? She said, yes. Do you want to be healed? She said, yes. You're healed. And she just looked at me. She stood up, and the pastor said, well, do something you couldn't do before. And she just started walking. She walked 10 feet one way and 10 feet back the other way, and her daughter jumped up, and she's like, she couldn't do that 10 minutes ago. And it was that I didn't do anything. But that's the thing. The power is in us. It's because God is in us. God is already in all of us. It's not that oh well, once we accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. God is already in all of us. We just don't know it. We don't recognize. We don't recognize the power. We have to see the power within us. If we don't know the power is there, we'll never use it.
Yeah.
And I want people to see that. Jesus was wanting people to see that. He even said, people can't be healed if they don't recognize it. And he said that. That's why there were some people that could not be healed, because they did not recognize their own power. They just couldn't. He couldn't even go into his own hometown, because he said even a prophet is not a prophet in his own town.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But it's hard to do anything as a Christian at all, is what I've noticed. Because somebody actually said this, that Christians are the only religion, or is the only religion, are the only, whatever, that shoot their own wounded.
Yeah.
And they are. It's easier to call yourself a Muslim or something else and try to do good, because nobody will touch you. Nobody will say anything. They don't care. They're not going to judge you for anything. But if you're a Christian and you do something that some Christian is going to disagree with, they're going to jump up and say, nope, you shouldn't do it that way. Nope, you're wrong. And there's going to be some Christian that's going to think you're wrong. And that's the thing, that there's so many different types of Christianities. Because there's so many different types of Christianities. And every one of them thinks they're right. And every time I talk to a Christian, I'll say that. It's like, which one's right? Well, I am. Every one of them thinks that. I say it to every one of them. I'm like, well, what makes you right? Well, it's because, because I follow the Bible, the Word. I'm like, which one? Like, they didn't speak English.
No.
They didn't speak Greek either. They didn't speak Hebrew. They didn't speak Latin. They didn't speak English. Jesus spoke Aramaic. And it really pisses people off when you tell them that when Jesus said God, he said Allah.
Yeah. Trying to explain to somebody that Allah means God.
Yeah.
They're like, it's not the same God.
All means the, La means God, the God. And they're like, well, because they're separatists. Christians are separatists.
Yeah.
That's why I am a follower of Yeshua. And I don't even mean it in the religious sense, the spiritual sense. I mean, I follow his teachings. Because that's the least way I can get in trouble from anybody. I don't have to worry about judgment. Nobody says that, well, you don't do this, though. You don't do this. You don't do this. You're not following this way. Who knows what I'm supposed to follow? You don't. I just do my own thing. Carry on. I will do my own thing. You do your thing. I'll do my thing. I'm trying to raise the world's vibration. I'm actually trying to do good. What are you trying to do? What it seems to me, you're trying to make the world a worse place. You're doing more work for the devil, if that's what you want to call it. If the devil is real, you match the devil's work. I mean, because that's what it seems to me. You go look at my post. Out of the 29 comments, how many of them are hateful?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were just looking at that before we started recording, and there's so many of them.
How many of them were hateful? And most of them were caused by Christians. They were hateful comments.
Yeah.
They weren't devil worshippers.
No, they were comments, ranging from, this is basically misinformation, and you're sending somebody to hell for telling them this, to, you need to learn about Jesus Christ and invite him into your heart.
Yeah, but when I gave them actual Bible verses, they disappeared. Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Because I actually have my ducks in a row. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't just pull things out my ass and just say things. You may not like what I say, but I mean what I say. I'm not up here just trying to be famous or anything. I'm not just trying to piss people off. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to do it one person at a time. Because that one person that was this close to ending their life because they didn't think they had any power. And they start realizing that, you mean, not only spiritually speaking, that, of course, Jesus was talking about how, God is in us, and how, the Torah was talking about we were made in God's image. But even scientifically, you get an electron microscope and you look, and we're nothing but light and vibration. We're 99.999% empty space. How is that possible? That we're just vibrations. That's it. And we're not falling through anything. How do we do this? You mean that we can control the way energy passes through other energies just because we look through them? It's called the observation. Yeah. Science is actually starting to realize through quantum physics that we control things by looking at them. like we're little gods. Jesus was teaching quantum physics 2,000 years before we understood what quantum physics was. But he was speaking about it in a very, very simple way. I know a lot of y'all are too dumb to understand that. And that's fine. I don't care. Be dumb. Dumb people are happy. I don't care if you're dumb. You don't have to agree with me. Dumb people usually don't. Look at Galileo. He was sitting there trying to get people to look up in the telescope and say, look, the sun is actually not revolving around the earth. And they refused to look. Dumb people like to be dumb. I don't care. I'm not trying to make you smart. It's not for you if you're wanting to be dumb. It's for that person to become better, to not be suicidal. It's for that person that can go from rock bottom to rocket ship. So quit stopping me. Quit stopping anybody from being better. Quit getting on people's posts and being a troll. If you call yourself a Christian and you're doing that, you're not a Christian, you're a piece of shit. That's what you are. You're not a good person. You're a Pharisaical Christian. You're not on the right side of history. You need to change. And I'm done bitching. Stay in peace. Stay in love. Hey guys, I want to personally thank everyone for liking and sharing my videos. If you want to continue to see my content, all you got to do is press that subscribe button and I'll notify you as soon as a new video comes out. I don't get paid for any of this. So if you want to buy some of my merch, like my shirts, like Jesus is a Badass or my Don't Be a Dick shirt, you can easily go to my merch store, which is at sogtv.org, which I will have it in the description at every video. So push that. Go buy yourself a shirt. I appreciate it. Have a blessed day, and I will see you at the next episode. Thank you.